Where would you like me to sit?
Right here.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh,
Hello.
hi.
I am Alexandra Snow. I will be conducting your interview today. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So today I will be asking you questions about yourself to see if you would be a good fit for our company. And then I will open it up for you to ask me any questions that you have about our company. Sound good?
Sure.
All right. All right, so let's start off. So what interested you in this industry?
Well, I've been surrounded by music my entire life, and I've been going to concerts for longer than I can remember. And what interested me in this industry was just seeing the joy on people's faces when you go to a show or listen to your favorite song. And because of that, I want to be able to inspire others, just like music inspires me.
Okay, so why does music inspire you as much as it does?
Because when you hear your favorite song, it can turn your sad day into like a better day because someone else is able to put what you're feeling into words when you can't. And I find that really important because sometimes you don't need to have all the answers or all the words for things.
Okay. And what do you think you could bring to this company that we don't already have?
I could bring a sense of passion and a sense of nonconformity. Because when I listen to music, I look for things that are different and go against the grain. Something that will make your company stand out a little bit differently than any other company out there.
Okay, can you go a little bit further into going against the grain and can you give finer examples of how you would make our company stand out a little bit more?
There's always certain music trends out there right now. And when I listen to the music, I always wonder, why did this trend get started? And that's what I always ask myself when I am finding new bands. Why should we follow this trend? Why should we follow what everyone wants? Well, you would think that's what you should do, but in reality, you should try and find something brand new out of the ground, something unique and different that'll attract attention for that reason only. And you could even start your own trends that way for your company.
Okay. So we often have bands that come in and want to do something that's not necessarily in their contract. So conflict often arises from that. So how would you handle something that wasn't necessarily listed in the contract?
I would simply pull their contract out, and I would say, well, this is what your contract says, and you even signed it with agreement. I understand that what you don't necessarily agree, and we can always go back and look at it and see if there's anything we can adjust for later things and later to prevent future issues. But right now, we really should focus on what your contract states so we don't get anyone into trouble.
Okay. So would that necessarily wouldn't make the band happy. So how would you try to make the band a little bit happier so they don't go and breach the contract and leave us?
That's a difficult thing to say because bands are divas. Let's be real here. You're never going to find that band who's going to be following all the rules. They're band members. They're going to be a little bit more rebellious. So in reality, you need to try and stick that rebellion back into their lives while following their contract. So just being look, guys, I understand that you want to break the rules a little bit. You want to be a little bit on the edge, but let's adjust our lifestyles a little bit so you can still have that freedom while still following our company's contract to make sure that no one's getting in trouble and you can stay with this industry.
Okay, and how would you handle negative feedback if there was any negative feedback from either them or upper management if you happen to do something like that?
Negative feedback is a good thing to have in a company because with negative feedback means growth, and growth means making the company a better place to work for, and that'll also make bands happier if they know they can come to me and hey, Brianna, I really don't like what you're doing with the band, and we can work together to figure out how to make it better for them.
Okay. All right. So the next set of questions that I'll be asking you will pertain more to your education and stuff that you've done in school. So can you give me an example of a time you had a conflict and how you handled it?
Right now, actually, in my electronic media class, I have a group member who he and I kind of butt heads because we're both very stubborn people. We both look at things and both really want to get them done, and we're going to do everything we can. And because of that, we clash. And what essentially we needed to do was I needed to take a step back, take a deep breath, because I realized the situation is very frustrating. And so I just pulled him aside and I talked to him like, hey, what can we do to fix the situation? And of course, that didn't necessarily click with him, so I just have to build a very strong patient, build more patience with him. And he understands where I'm at, and he understands, and I understand where he's at. We're both stubborn, and I have to acknowledge that and keep that in mind as I go through each meeting. The situation isn't necessarily solved, but it's a work in progress, and we are continuing to be in communication to make sure no other conflict arises.
And how long has that conflict been going on?
Probably like a week or two. It was it's just because we were in a high stress situation and he handles stress differently than I do. I tend to be more communicative and not being afraid to be like, hey guys, this is what's going on, and he tends to come off more aggressively. So it's working out somehow.
Okay. So we have a bunch of management majors, business majors, who are applying for this position. What do you think separates you from other majors?
Essentially, I'm probably one of the biggest go-getters you will ever meet with my communication degree. We are taught that, yes, we have to dream big and work hard to get there, but really go-getting is the biggest thing. With this industry, it's very competitive, and I have to be there every step of the way and make sure I get what I want. And that is the biggest thing. With a management degree, you're not necessarily going to be a go-getter. You're mainly going to be someone who's going to focus on making money and get it going. And with that go-getter attitude and with that burning passion, I'll be able to make your company money, also getting what you want.
Okay. So I see here on your resume that you worked for WGBX Radio. Did you work with any of the bands, or did any bands come in and interview or anything like that?
I had my best friend at the time, her boyfriend's band, For the Record. We interviewed him for it, and because they were really big in the Milwaukee area. And so he just wanted to come in and talk with us, and it was super fun.
So did you line that interview up then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So next question would be, what is your greatest weakness?
My greatest weakness is time management. And the reason that is because I perseverate. And I'm working on that because I'm slowly realizing what my priorities are. But on the other hand, with that perseverating, I can't move on until I feel like something is done completely and 100% accurately in what the company needs and wants. Until I'm satisfied, I cannot move on. Until I get what I want, I cannot move on. But at the same time, I have to work on it and remember that sometimes perseverating and obsessing over one thing could end up hurting the company as well. So I'm really working on time management and prioritizing.
Okay. And then what was your least favorite class in college?
Mine was my education class. And the reason being is we'd have these papers due once a week. And instead of focusing on the content and how, and getting the message across and that we learn the material, he strictly based it on margins and how the paper was spaced out. He literally wouldn't read the papers, and you could tell by his grading. And sometimes, and it just was frustrating because it's like you sit there and you work really hard and you want to get that message across and show him and prove to him that you're learning, when in reality he's not paying attention to that.
But if someone sets up guidelines like that, like say a band comes in and wants to, have the stage be exactly 2 feet from the wall over here and exactly 3 feet from the wall over here, then how, if you're not focused on spacing, then how would that affect how the band would feel?
Personally, I would follow what they want, because to them, when you move that speaker, and I can understand this from a music perspective, if you move a speaker a certain way, the music will be portrayed differently. If they feel like that speaker should be like right next to the bass drum, it may seem ridiculous in the audience's eyes or the manager's eyes, but in the band's eyes, it's perfect and it makes their sound better. For a professor who obviously does not read your content and just strictly wants margins, that's when I get frustrated. Because when you go back to him and ask, why did I get points off, he can't tell you. And with like the stage situation, if something's off, you can go and ask the band members like, hey, what's going on? And they can tell you.
Okay. All right. So before we wrap everything up, do you have any questions for me or for the company?
What is your highest expectation of me for this company?
We want to make sure that our workers are extremely self-driven, and we want to make sure that they are self-motivated so that they can go out and, like you said, get new talent to come in to our facility so we can be the top and the newest and the greatest.
How did you get to where you are in the music industry?
I worked my way up. I started as just a setup crew person, and then with more openings came more opportunities, and I myself am very self-driven, so I stepped up. I wanted to be that person who managed, and so I just kind of worked myself up in this company.
I'm not talking from a company standpoint, but from your own personal standpoint, what was the first band you ever signed, and was it successful?
I actually didn't do that section. I was more set up, and then I moved into managerial stuff, not so much the actual going out and signing the bands.
Very cool.
Okay. So, that's everything then?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for coming in.
Thank you for interviewing me.
All right.
Appreciate it.
We will let you know in a couple weeks, around the next 2 weeks, when we make our actual decision.
Thank you so much.
Let me walk you out.
It was awesome meeting you.
Yes. Okay. Go away now.
You douche!